Hello everyone, and welcome back to Hearts of Iron 4. Today I would like to talk a little bit about entrenchment, why it's important, why it took me so long to understand how it works in game, and how it makes sense in a historical context, and when it is in which situations it is very important for you to keep your entrenchment in mind. So let's start out with how entrenchment works and where you find it. I've got a division here, I've got two divisions here that are currently under attack. And if you look at this little blue bar here next to these divisions, you see that this unit is entrenched. From that, it gets a 49% defensive combat bonus. The defensive part here is a little misleading, but I'll get to that later. So where does that all come from? Well, every unit can entrench by itself, but you can boost that quite a little bit. We've got a base value of 5 entrenchment here. I have the trench warfare from the land doctrine. So the Grand Battle Plan doctrine has that at its very first step, which gives you max entrenchment of plus 10. That's not 10%, that's 10 points. So that basically triples your existing entrenchment off the bat, just by starting out with the Grand Battle Plan doctrine. Then I have the static warfare, spirit of division here. And the static warfare gives us a 10% multiplicative modifier, so not an additive, just an extra 10% on top of it. If we go back to it, the last one comes from the actual division template, because my division template contains an engineer support company, and the engineer support company gives entrenchment. That's due to that gets more the more you research it. So the initial engineer company gives 5 entrenchment, and then if you reach engineer 4, you get a larger factor of the actual entrenchment that the engineers provide. So that's how we get to this relatively high entrenchment value, and that's how we get to a 49% combat modifier on the defense. If you look at the other division here, this division only has a 33% combat modifier, and that's it because this division template does not actually contain any engineers. So what's the point of entrenchment? Why do we care? Well, let's have a look at this ongoing battle here. So there's a single Soviet division, and by the way, if you're curious as to where this where this chaos here comes from, this is my ongoing disaster save series. But that's why we're in 1945. And holding against the Soviets. But let's have a look at this, right? So my division has a base defense of 377.8. That is just the value the division gets out of the template. And the entrenchment here gives me a 33% modifier or a 49% modifier respectively on the defense. These modifiers are stacking with other modifiers because again they're multiplicative. But you'll also notice that my soft attack base value of 190 has been boosted quite significantly. And the reason for that is also, among other things, entrenchment. So I'm getting an almost 50% attack bonus on from that entrenchment. Why does attack matter? You're not attacking. Well, there is no such thing as attack and defense singularly. They always both happen. So the attacking unit will get their breakthrough matched against my soft attack, and their soft attack will match against my defense. If we're doing it the other way around, then it's the other way around. But having a high attack bonus, so basically having a lot of firepower, means that, and the attacking division has a very low breakthrough, means that this division is taking a lot of damage and I take almost no damage. In fact, I think if we let this through, I probably won't even lose anybody, while this division is probably losing several hundred men from that frontal assault against a very heavily entrenched position. So if you're on the defense, and especially if you're outnumbered, then entrenchment is an extremely valuable factor. In general military theory, the 3-to-1 rule has been relatively frequently discussed recently due to ongoing events by people like Mearsheimer, but the general rule of thumb is that you need a 3-to-1 numerical superiority to break through a defense. And in game here, if you are in a situation where you are outnumbered, and if we look at the numbers here along the front lines, I am very certainly outnumbered, then entrenchment is your friend, because you can stack this with even if you're on otherwise unfavorable terrain, you can stack this quite significantly with other factors. So one thing that is separate from entrenchment, if you look at this is this little bunker here. These are actually fortifications. So these are land forts. Entrenchment, your soldiers gain entrenchment by staying in one position. It takes them a while to actually create or reach their maximum entrenchment. If they just moved into a position, they will have no entrenchment, and it takes some time to build the entrenchment up. If the soldiers move out of a position, then they lose their entrenchment. These things here, these bunkers, these are fixed forts. These are fortifications that have been constructed, bunkers, redoubts, fixed things. So these things don't go away. Different from the entrenchment, very different effect as well. Entrenchment is just something you gain naturally while you leave your soldiers in one place, which also means that if your soldiers get pushed out of a place, they suddenly lose, in this case, 50% of their firepower, because they will not be entrenched after they had just to retreat, which means on an initiative, not letting the enemy re-entrench can be quite an important factor if you can maintain the momentum. But how does this work historically? How does this even make sense? Why does a division gain entrenchment when it stays in a place, and why does it lose entrenchment when it moves? Well, we have to distinguish here between a trench, like a temporary earthwork, something that a soldier digs out with a shovel and potentially reinforms with some bars of wood or similar things, and adds a little bit of top cover and all these kind of little features that soldiers create if they are staying in one place and literally digging in. And if they move out from these, they might be destroyed, they might be damaged. So there's a certain amount of sense that you lose the entrenchment when you move. But it's not all, because entrenchment is a lot more than digging holes in the ground or digging paths in the ground. So a defensive setup means a lot more than just digging. It means pre-positioning your artillery. Right? Think of your artillery, it's not something that you have aimed always. Artillery at World War II would have often been indirect fire. And that means you need to pre-spot your artillery. Maybe you create defensive areas or kill zones in the region that you're entrenching in, to make sure that you're using natural features and features like minefields, which you have to lay to funnel enemy troops into certain positions, which you then have zeroed your artillery in from beforehand. You've moved your artillery into higher ground. You've set up spotter positions. You've set up communication lines. Radio is not always available. You might need telephone lines. You might need runners. You might need communication trenches. So dugouts that allow somebody to move between positions to relay commands. All these kind of factors are part of my understanding of what I would say is entrenchment. And that is the big reason why you're losing it when you're moving, because you pack up your artillery, you move out of your positions, you probably don't have your minefields ready when you're moving into a new place. You have to scout the area, you have to make sure that you're setting up in the right spot, and obviously also digging in. But it's not just digging in. So it makes a lot of sense that you lose all your entrenchment, because entrenchment itself is a lot more than just digging holes in the ground. And yeah, like I said, entrenchment as on a defensive position is a massive factor. In fact, we will see if we look around here, you see that there are positions here where I'm outnumbered where I'm outnumbered 4 or 6 to 1 on certain areas, but a combination of entrenchment and actual fixed land fortifications, redoubts, hardened positions, defense in depth, these sort of things mean that the AI is not actually even attempting to attack me here, because they know that they can't get through, because the values here are just not in their favor. So that's why if you're on the defense, and if you're maybe playing a weaker nation, or if you're playing as Ethiopia and trying to hold against Italy, then figuring out this kind of entrenchment values and going for an entrenchment setup, entrenchment heavy setup, with what I've described here with the static warfare and potentially the grand battle plan doctrine, can give you a lot of defense on give you a lot of value on the defense, but it also means that you will do a lot more damage. So it also affects the soft attack and the damage that you're dishing out against divisions that are running against your entrenches. So let's let this run through. There we go, and have a very quick look at this little one. So we've seen that we have lost no manpower in this attack, and the enemy division has lost 790 troops, plus a fair amount of equipment. 71 rifles, 852 millimeter pieces of artillery, and 2 pieces of support equipment. So having a lot of firepower means that the enemy gets destroyed more easily. You lose less equipment. Ideally, you lose no equipment at all, and it becomes very costly very quickly to attack heavily entrenched positions. And obviously, this stacks with natural features as well. So, for example, if you're behind a river line, you can even further stack these kind of entrenchment values, and you can create defensive positions that are extremely hard to break, places like mountains and similar. So what's the counter? What do you do if the enemy is very heavily entrenched? Well, you need combined arms. You need you can't just necessarily break through with your troops on the ground, but you need to have air power ideally. You can have additional support from support from things like tanks that just take less damage and have a very high breakthrough. You can improve your divisions by adding more artillery and creating division templates that just have more firepower, and that will allow them to counter these entrenchment values. You can use your operatives. Make sure you use your planning, right? So because attacking divisions also will receive a bonus from planning. So you see it here. I've got a 38% planning bonus. So planning an offensive against an entrenched position is key, because planning is the flip side of entrenchment. And you see the planning on the other side. You will get the better you're prepared, and that's again something where the grand battle plan doctrine is actually extremely powerful, because a lot of these things here are increasing the max planning. So there's quite some value in here to slow down your operations, both but because you get a lot of bonuses for digging in, and you get a lot of bonuses for planning very carefully how you assault enemy positions. So these are for situations where you are not having superiority. These are very, very powerful factors, and it really helps learning about these. Anyway, that's it for me today. Thanks everybody, and I'll see you all around.